G'day everyone and welcome back to the dig site. Today I'm going to be talking about some hominids and our ancient ancestors, our prehistoric ancestors. So to start off, what is a hominid? Well, a hominid is any member of the Hominidae, which is all the great apes, basically. So whether they're alive or extinct. That's my dog. This is the problem with filming outside, you get a lot of background noise. So currently the only living members of this group are humans, chimpanzees, gorillas, and orangutans. So before I dive into the specifics of the group, I'd like to go over some of the more specific terminology you might hear if you're researching this, and maybe you don't understand it, so I'm going to go over some of them and sort of show you the differentiation between that terminology. So there are hominoids, which have the O-I-D and S on the end of the word homin, and these include the great apes and the lesser apes, like gibbons. So they're pretty much all of your apes are hominoids. In fact, with most animals, where they have the OID, the oid on the end, it pretty much covers like the whole group. Tyrannosauroids, they factor in multiple animals that aren't tyrannosaurids or tyrannosaurines. Then you've got hominines, which is pretty much any member of the Homininae and includes every great ape except for orangutans. So that's humans, chimpanzees, and gorillas. There's also hominins, which are members of the Hominini and include humans. I should also make it clear that when I say human in this context, I'm referring to the species Homo sapiens. And I'm only saying this because a lot of people go over prehistoric apes and very human-like ancestors, and they say, oh, these technically count as humans. You could say they're humans, but for the sake of this video, it's not really that important because it's not a scientific term, the word human. It's really more philosophical in a lot of senses. So I'm just going to be saying humans in the sense of modern humans, which us, you, everyone that's watching this video. Unless you're not a human, maybe you're a dog or something. I don't know what the hell you are. Now, starting off with prehistoric hominins. The earliest known hominin is Ardipithecus cadaver, which lived approximately 5.5 million years ago in Ethiopia. Its position as a hominin is frequently debated in the scientific community. Ardipithecus was short and had very long arms in proportion to its body, indicating that it either still moved as a quadruped or was in the transitional stages of evolving into a biped. It had a comparatively small brain, and its fossils indicate that it was very similar in appearance and possibly behavior to modern chimpanzees. Other than that, not too much is known about this species, as most of its characteristics are pretty much based on estimates and guesswork. Following Ardipithecus on the hominin phylogenetic tree, I'll make a video soon about phylogeny. I won't cover them in this video, I'll go over it maybe in the next one or one after that. We have the famous Australopithecus, which lived in Africa 4 million years ago, becoming extinct 2 million years ago. It had a brain size roughly 35% of a modern human's and stood at around 4 feet tall, although there is very strong evidence of sexual dimorphism in the species, with males seemingly being larger than females, and which is a trait that's carried on throughout all of the ancestral hominins, including modern humans, with modern human males being roughly about 15% larger than human females on average, although this is very different in Australopithecus, where males were about 50% bigger than females of the species. Australopithecus stood totally upright and therefore was entirely bipedal. Because of this, it likely used basic tools and hunting strategies not unlike those seen in modern chimpanzees. So when I say basic tools, I mean, using straw. Maybe they're using twigs to get, smaller animals to come out of their little holes. Chimpanzees do that, actually. It also makes you wonder if these earlier hominins could have seen a tribal conflict, because chimpanzees, as many people know, do actually go to war between tribes. So that's an interesting thing. I wonder how early on war and conflict started in primate evolution. Following Australopithecus, we have Paranthropus, which lived 2.5 million years ago in Africa. Paranthropus is famous for its extremely robust skull, with a noticeably large sagittal crest, indicating that this hominin has a rather powerful jaw. Paranthropus has been given the nickname Nutcracker Man due to this trait, and its rather strong and dense teeth, with batteries of large molars lining its lower jaw, and thinner incisors at the front. Paranthropus had a smaller brain than all members of the genus Homo, but it was still larger than Australopithecus. Now we're getting to Homo, our genre, and eventually our species. First up is Homo habilis. Habilis is one of the most interesting of the hominins, as it was the first of our ancestors to show a significant increase in brain size and to show the use of stone tools. Habilis lived about 2.5 million years ago in Tanzania. Unfortunately, habilis arose from a time where there is a significant gap in the fossil record of hominins, and so it's difficult to be certain of its position in human evolution. Many scientists agree that habilis is not directly related to modern humans and instead diverged into a different evolutionary line, However, recent evidence in the form of two seemingly transitional skulls might suggest otherwise, and so this species could be under revision. Habilis had a large brain, a square upper jaw, and a wide, flat face. Habilis seems to have grown to an average of 4 feet in males and about 3.5 feet in females. Chemical analysis suggests that this species was primarily vegetarian, but did include some meat in its diet. Next up, we have our distant ancestor, Homo rudolfensis. Rudolfensis lived 2.5 million years ago in Kenya. It had a relatively large brain, at least larger than its close relative Habilis, and it had a surprisingly flat and long face, indicating a turn towards the later hominins. However, due to a lack of fossil evidence, not much is known about the appearance of rudolfensis, as almost no other skeletal material aside from the skull is known. It was an omnivore, as evident in its dentition, and probably used stone tools like choppers. Following Homo rudolfensis is Homo ergaster, which was the first of our ancestors to have a striking resemblance to modern humans. These people were generally tall and slender, and may have been relatively hairless. Ergaster lived 2 million years ago in Africa and Eurasia, indicating that this was the first of our ancestors to leave Africa. Ergaster featured long legs and was about 5 foot 10 inches tall, making it the first of our ancestors to exceed 5 feet in average height. It had a flat face with a protruding nose, much like modern humans do. It had a somewhat larger skull than earlier ancestors, but most of its human-like features come from its appearance. This species used advanced stone tools like axes and cleavers, and likely also used fire to cook food and for warmth. This makes Ergaster a very intelligent species. So from this point we get two species diverging from the evolutionary lineage. We've got Homo erectus and Homo heidelbergensis. Fossils of erectus have mostly been found in China and Indonesia, and the species lived approximately 1.5 million years ago. Sangaran, on the island of Java, is the most important fossil site for this species in Indonesia, providing the remains of over 80 individuals. Erectus used a variety of tools made of several different materials, mostly sandstone and quartz. This species had a robust skeleton that was quite similar to modern humans. However, the skulls of the species are where many differences lie. It had a large face with a massive brow ridge and a flat nose. Homo erectus went extinct hundreds of thousands of years ago, and as of current knowledge, it did not evolve into modern humans or Neanderthals. Moving on to Homo heidelbergensis, a species that is the common ancestor between Homo neanderthalensis and Homo sapiens. This species lived 600,000 years ago in Africa and Europe, in particular, Germany. Leg bones indicate that heidelbergensis was tall, at about 5 feet. Its brain was more complex than previous ancestors. It had a flatter face with only a slightly protruding lower jaw. Its brain was complex, and it used advanced stone tools that were mostly designed for butchery. They also used animal hide as clothing and fire, although it is unclear whether they actually controlled fire or merely used it when it was available. Now we have the second last hominin on this list, Homo neanderthalensis. Neanderthals coexisted with modern humans for long periods of time before becoming extinct approximately 28,000 years ago. Remains of this species have been found primarily in Europe and the Middle East, and possibly China. Perhaps the most shocking trait of this species was their ability to breed with modern humans. In 2010, a study proved that Neanderthals and humans did in fact interbreed, with people of Asian descent sharing about 1 to 4% of their DNA with Neanderthals, and those of African descent sharing none. This indicates that the interbreeding only occurred after humans left Africa, but before they reached Europe, as they hung around Asia for a while, making sweet primitive love. Neanderthals are recognizably human but have distinct facial features and a stocky build that was adapted to cold, dry climates. Neanderthals were generally shorter and more robust than humans. They also, interestingly, had larger brains than modern humans, although this is likely due to their colder climate and is probably not a representation of superior intelligence. Probably. Neanderthals had a strong, robust jaw with big teeth. Their limb bones were thick and dense, indicating this species was very muscular. Neanderthals are also the only other hominin species known to have a very advanced culture, using jewelry and ornaments for decoration, and possibly even having religious beliefs. They used advanced tools, almost the same ones that humans were using at the time. In fact, many archaeologists believe that Neanderthals were attempting to copy the tools that their human neighbors were using. Neanderthals constructed shelters and also lived in caves, and they were able to control fire and more complex clothing, although there is no evidence of sewing. Fascinatingly, Neanderthals used fossils of small organisms and shells as jewelry, making pendants and bracelets out of them. It's believed that Neanderthals went extinct due to competition with modern humans, who were able to coordinate and communicate, unlike the Neanderthals. It is also likely that a similar issue arose between the two species as did with the direwolf and the grey wolf, with direwolves becoming stockier and bigger than grey wolves, but not as fast or intelligent. And as the megafauna died out, the larger, stockier animal was not able to successfully pursue the lighter, more nimble prey. And now, finally, we arrive at us, Homo sapiens, the last surviving members of the genus Homo. Homo sapiens lived in Europe, Asia, and Africa about 200,000 years ago, and currently live consistently on 6 of the 7 continents, the 7th being Antarctica, of which no dominant group of animals has managed to annually live on since the Mesozoic era, 65 million years ago. Humans are fascinating in that they are existential. They question their own existence on this planet and have achieved a tremendous amount in an extremely short period of technological advancement. Some examples of this include the invention of the conical bullet, harnessing electricity for energy, the invention of the computer, the jet engine, and of course, the atomic bomb, and its subsequent developments into nuclear energy. Personally, I believe the most incredible invention that humanity has made has been the Saturn V rocket, arguably the single most beautiful example of human engineering and ingenuity. This rocket took humans for the first time to another celestial object, our moon, 50 years ago. And while the space program kind of died off after that for a couple of decades, it seems to be coming back, and who knows where humans are going to go now. We're going to Mars, we're going to the moon, we're going back to the moon, we're living on the moon soon. We're going to have colonies on different planets. It's going to be an incredible and amazing time to be alive. But yeah, if you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like and subscribe. And there's a link to my Discord server in the description. You can join that if you're interested in paleontology or fossils, and you can maybe learn something. I like doing these little videos like this. I haven't done one when I'm really outside yet. It's quite nice. This weather's really nice. My script just got blown away. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys later. Cheers.